Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. I caught it by accident. Saturday, late afternoon, I was in the garage swapping out a dim light above the laundry sink. The side door was cracked for air. My wife, Claire, had 3 of her friends on the patio with iced tea and gossip. I wasn't spying. I was trying not to drop a glass globe. 2 weeks, one of them chirped. Perfect, another said. Isn't his birthday in 2 weeks? Claire laughed like it was a prize she'd won. How did I not think of that? I'll do it then. Big audience, 0 pushback. Time it for dessert, her friend said. He'll be off guard. Tomorrow I'm calling my lawyer. Claire squealed. I want it clean. He signs, I'm out, and I keep the good parts. They clinked glasses. I stood there, holding a warm bulb, letting the old one tap against the sink. If you've ever had a floor slip under you, that's what it felt like. And yet, my first thought was stupidly domestic. I'd just fixed that patio umbrella for them. If I'd known how far she was prepared to go, I might have skipped straight to the end. I didn't. I gave her the courtesy of a full picture before I closed the door. That night at dinner, she was all sweetness. She slid a plate toward me, set a fork in a perfect line, asked about my day like she hadn't scheduled the demolition. I kept my voice even. Busy, I told her. Monday's going to be worse. You always work too much, she said, smiling at the oven. But I'm proud of you. Thanks. I cut the chicken. We'll need to talk logistics next week. Budgets. Scheduling. Her eyes flicked up for a second. Since when do you do logistics with me? Since we're adults, I said, and kept eating. She changed the subject. I let her. No scenes. Not my style. The next morning, I was in an office overlooking a quiet street, shaking hands with a man who looked like he had never been laid in his life. Henry Walters. The kind of attorney other attorneys call when they're out of road. I had his name from a client who'd gone through a disaster and walked out whole because of him. Henry listened without drama. He had a legal pad and patience. So you heard this conversation word for word? He asked. Word for word, I answered. I can repeat it, and I will. He clicked his pen. And your prenup? In the safe, I told him. Her copy's with her attorney. Mine's here. I slid a folder across. There are clauses. She didn't read them closely. He scanned. Most people don't until they want to argue with it. He circled 2 lines. These are the loopholes your friend mentioned. She said she'd call her lawyer Monday. I added. Plan is to do it on my birthday with witnesses and drama, so I don't push back. Henry didn't smile. Good. We'll get ahead of it. We'll document your statement today. I'll file a notice to preserve assets and keep every transaction clean. You don't tell her you know. You don't move funds the wrong way. You follow my instructions to the letter. I'm not going to do anything dumb, I said. I can see that, he replied. But I'm going to be thorough. We'll re-verify accounts, freeze discretionary transfers, establish separate payment rails for your business, and get a temporary lodging lined up if you need to vacate quickly. I'll get you a script for when she serves papers. You use exactly the words. What about the birthday stunt? I asked. You act surprised, Henry said. You sign if you need to sign, but only what I've pre-cleared. We'll have a response ready before she even takes a breath. And we'll have proof that this was planned for maximum emotional leverage. Judges are people. They can read intent. Good, I told him. Because I believed in this marriage. I wasn't looking for loopholes. That part will come through, he said, capping the pen. But stop believing you owe her anything more than fairness. From this minute forward, you protect your dignity and your assets. Understood. Understood. He had me sit with his assistant and record a statement. I repeated the patio talk verbatim. Dates, names, tone. I didn't add color. She typed. When I finished, Henry notarized the statement, slid another document over, and pointed at the signature line. That acknowledges you've told me the truth as you understand it, he said. This isn't theater. It's structure. Fine, I said and signed. On the drive home, I made calls. First to the bank, separating a line item she liked to tap for decor projects into a capped weekly allowance with alerts. Then to my office manager, Melissa. Need you to shift all vendor payments off the household account and onto the business card, I told her. Today. She whistled low. Everything okay, boss? Will be, I said. Also, lock my calendar on the week of the 15th. No late meetings at home. If something needs my signature, it comes through you. Copy that. I pulled into the driveway with flowers. It wasn't romance. It was cover. Claire opened the door with a bright face, like someone clocking a bonus. For me? She chirped. For the house, I said, brushing past to the kitchen. Thought it'd be nice. She moved to kiss me. I let it land on my cheek. She smelled like citrus cleaner and satisfaction. We should get away for your birthday, she said, arranging stems. I was thinking a little dinner, small group. No trip, I told her. Too much going on at work. She pouted. You never make time for us. I make time for what respects my time, I replied and opened the fridge. She blinked like she'd heard a language she didn't know. You're grouchy. I'm precise, I said, closing the door. There's a difference. That was the first small line I drew. No yelling. No drama. Just a statement of terms. Over the next week, I made quiet changes. I canceled the couple's brunch we did out of habit and set coffee with my friend Nate instead. I told Claire I had to stop by the shop to check a machine, which I did, and also used the time to move a file box to a rental storage unit. House keys got copied. My workshop got inventory photos. All clean. All calm. Claire's tone drifted colder. Little digs. She'd brush past me, drop a remark with a sugar coating. You know, if you dress sharper, you could probably charge more, she said on Tuesday, watching me tie my boots. I charge for results, I answered, looping the lace. Clients know that. Sure, she tossed back. I'm just saying, optics matter. Optics don't pour concrete, I said, grabbing my toolbox. She laughed into her mug. You always have an answer. That's because I always think, I told her and left. Wednesday, she tried something else. She swung by my office with takeout and set it down like peace. I was near your spot, she said. Thought you could use a break. That's considerate, I replied, washing my hands in the sink. She perched on the edge of my desk, tracing the grain with a finger. I know I've been distant. I'm sorry. I've been overwhelmed. I watched her face, the practiced frown. What's the ask? She flinched. Can't I just bring lunch without an agenda? You can't, I said. You usually don't. Her shoulders dropped a half-inch. I miss you. We should try harder. We could, I allowed. Meet me halfway. Start with small things. Like what? She asked. Respect my time, I said. No surprise guests. No public jokes at my expense. Keep plans you make with me. She nodded quickly, too quickly. Of course. We ate. She leaned in like the past 10 days hadn't been strategic. That was the first softening. I didn't push her away, but I didn't melt. After she left, Melissa stepped into my office with a raised eyebrow. Everything good? Everyone's polite, I said. That's enough. Thursday brought a test. My neighbor, Tom, was grilling and waved us over. Claire accepted for both of us. I was fine with it. Light beer, kids on scooters, Tom's music low enough not to bother anyone. It should have been easy. Claire made it a stage. Tell them about the new client. She told me loud enough for 4 chairs to hear. The one you almost didn't get because you showed up in boots. Tom's wife laughed. We love a boot guy. Claire smiled. I'm just teasing. He knows I want what's best for him. I set my bottle on the table. We don't do teasing at other people's expense, I said evenly. If you have feedback about my work, you bring it to me in private. Her smile stiffened. It's a joke. It wasn't funny, I said, looking at Tom. No harm to you, man. Enjoy the burgers. Tom lifted both hands. All good. Claire rose, heat in her cheeks. You're being sensitive. No, I said, standing as well. I'm being clear. We said our goodbyes early. Walking home, she trotted a step ahead, like a kid outrunning a scold. You embarrassed me, she said on the sidewalk. You did that to yourself, I replied. Lines set. You'll respect it. And if I don't, she dared me, chin up. Then I change access, I said. To me. To what I pay for. She laughed sharp. Listen to you. Listening, I said. Deciding. She didn't speak the rest of the way. At home, she banged cabinets, then slammed the dishwasher like it owed her money. I poured water, checked my emails, and messaged Henry, documented public jab. Boundary set. Witnesses, Tom and Jen. He texted back, noted. By Friday, she was nice again. Too nice. She came into the garage with lemonade, hair up, smile wide. You've been quiet, she said, handing me the glass. I've been busy, I responded, placing it on the workbench. Deadlines don't care how I feel. I was thinking we could go to that place you like for your birthday, she tried. Just the 2 of us. I thought you wanted a small group, I said. She paused, calculating. Well, sure. Maybe after. First, just us. Schedule's tight, I told her. We'll see. That was the second softening in motion. A different shape, same function, nudged me into a position where I'd be grateful and therefore pliable when her real move came. I played along with a nod and went back to tightening a bracket. The following week, my initiative went larger. I told Claire I was taking on a big project and would be sleeping at the workshop 2 nights for early starts. In truth, I signed a month-to-month lease at a furnished apartment 5 blocks from my office. The rental company moved in a mattress and a couch that afternoon. I stocked it with a couple of shirts, a razor, and enough food to get by. No huffing, no hiding in a hotel. Just a straightforward contingency. The key sat in my pocket like insurance. At work, I met Nate in the back lot. He's been my friend since before there was a house or a Claire. You look like a man with a plan, he said. I'm a man with a calendar, I replied, and a very good attorney. You going to say anything to her before the day? He asked. No, I told him. She thinks she's running the show. She can have the show. I'm taking the theater. He laughed once short. Cold. Measured, I answered. On my birthday, she gets her moment. I get my exit. Nate nodded. You want me there? She invited you. I said. Show up, watch, and afterward, take the keys to my truck and get the box in the back to Henry's office if I text you go. Got it, he agreed. You're calm. I'm done, I said. That's not the same thing. 2 days out, she amped up the sweetness one more gear. She brought me coffee in bed. She asked about a trip in the fall. She sat close on the couch and rested her head against my shoulder during a documentary she didn't care about. You're quiet, she murmured. I think better that way, I said, eyes on the screen. You've been steady lately, she noted. That's the job, I replied. She nodded and left it there. She was certain she had me where she wanted me. That was the mid-turn. I let it pass. The day came. House full of people. Neighbors, my crew from the shop, her friends dressed like they were attending a reality show. The dining table was set with a store-bought cake. Someone put candles in it. Claire moved around the room like a director, smoothing napkins, placing plates, hugging everyone twice. Nate stood near the patio door. He caught my eye once and didn't need a nod. Tom handed me a paper crown he thought was funny. I set it on the table. Melissa hugged me quickly and whispered, You good? I'm excellent, I told her, and meant it. We ate. We did the small talk. People sang the song. I smiled because I can be gracious even when I know what's coming. Claire tapped her glass with a spoon and got that attention-charging silence only parties and microphones create. I have something to say, she began, glowing. And I want to do it here, with the people who know us best. She looked at me with sympathy she'd practiced in a mirror. I think we both know this isn't working, she continued. We've grown apart. We want different things. I have papers here. It's all simple. Be a man for once. Sign it. No drama. Her friends actually clapped. One of them whispered, Finally. Nate didn't move. Melissa set her jaw. Tom looked down at his plate like it had secrets. I didn't speak. I didn't argue. I pulled a pen from my pocket and flipped through the stack she slid across the table. Henry had warned me about this. There'd be a top page for shock value, and then a mess of attachments that weren't what they claimed to be. The version in front of me wasn't binding without my response. It was theater, so I signed only on the acknowledgement of receipt where Henry had told me to sign, careful and neat. Thanks, I said quietly to Claire, handing the stack back. You've made your choice. I make mine. She blinked, thrown for a beat that I hadn't cracked. Then she put on the grin again and kissed me on the cheek in front of everyone like she was giving me a trophy for compliance. That's that, she announced to the room. That's that, I repeated, standing. I turned to the group. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the cake. Where are you going? Claire asked, surprised. To pack a bag, I answered. I'll be out in an hour. She waved a dismissive hand. Please, don't make it a whole thing. No thing, I replied. Just logistics. Upstairs, I pulled a duffel from the closet and put in what I'd already planned. 2 shirts, work pants, toiletries, the few things I'd deliberately left at the house. I took the small lockbox from the safe, just my passport and a deed copy Henry had already filed, and left the rest. No petty grabs. I didn't want souvenirs. Claire stood in the doorway while I zipped the bag. You're moving out tonight? She challenged, like that wasn't the point of her performance. You asked for a split, I said. I'm making space. You don't even want to talk? She pushed. We talked, I said. For years. I'm trying to be fair, she insisted. You're trying to be efficient, I replied, brushing past her. Different thing. Downstairs, Nate met me at the door. I handed him an envelope. Henry's packet, I said. Go. I'm on it, he said, and slipped out. As I loaded the duffel into my truck, Claire called out from the porch, voice bright for the crowd. Don't be dramatic, she said. It's just paperwork. I looked at her, then at the neighbors pretending not to watch. It's just respect, I said. You'll miss it. I drove to the apartment. It was plain, clean, and anonymous. Perfect. I put my bag down, washed my face, and texted Henry. It's done. He replied one word. Received. By morning, I had an email from Henry with a calendar of steps. There was a hearing date. There were forms already filed. There was a request to keep temporary financial boundaries as they were until the court signed off. He'd wrapped the whole thing in tape and labeled it. My job was to show up when told and not improvise. Claire, for her part, was drunk on her own victory lap. She sent a group text to the party attendees thanking them for supporting a tough decision and tagged me in 2 photos like she'd hosted a charity fundraiser. I responded to none of it. I forwarded the text to Henry. He wrote, good. Pattern of public staging. That afternoon, she called twice. I let it ring. She texted, we need to meet to divide things. I'll be reasonable. I replied, communicate through counsel. She wrote back a string of question marks, and then, don't be petty. I didn't answer. I turned off the phone and went for a run. 2 days later, the tone shifted. She tried my office. I don't have time for games, Claire announced, stepping into my doorway without knocking. Then don't play them, I said, not looking up from my invoice. You can't ignore me. This involves me, she said. Henry will schedule anything that involves you. I replied. If you need his number, you have it. This is ridiculous, she tried again. Probably, I said, signing the invoice. But it's organized. She planted both hands on the desk. Why are you doing this to me? I met her eyes. You did it on purpose. I just noticed. She stared, and for a second, I saw confusion, like she didn't recognize the man who wouldn't argue with her in his own office. Melissa stepped in then. Hey, she said to Claire flat. You can't be back here without an appointment. I'm his wife, Claire snapped. Melissa's expression didn't change. Try email. Claire looked at me for backup and got none. She left in a huff, pushing the glass door too hard so it bounced. When the door stilled, Melissa shut it gently and said, good boundary. Thanks, I said. Hold my calls for an hour. When the hearing day arrived, it wasn't a war room. It was a quiet room with fluorescent lights and too much carpet. Henry nodded at me once, handed me a folder, and spoke in that calm way he had. We've got this, he said. I know, I answered. Claire came in wearing a victory face. Her attorney followed, jaw tight. He did not look like a man enjoying his morning. He looked like a man who had promised outcomes he could no longer deliver. The judge read through the files. Henry presented our timeline, the notarized statement from that first Monday, the financial records that showed no weird transfers, and the public texts where Claire had turned my birthday into a stage. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't perform. He just set the facts on the table like tools and let them speak. Claire's attorney argued about intent and fairness. He tried to paint me as rigid. The judge didn't bite. At the end, the judge referenced the prenup and the documentation and made a straightforward decision. Assets stayed as agreed. My business and house remained mine per the contract, and Claire kept her car, which I had given her. The rest was clean lines and signatures. No triumph, no meltdown, just a quiet shift in weight. On the steps outside, Claire rounded on her attorney, not caring who heard. You told me, she started. He cut her off, voice low but sharp. You were warned that staging it like that would backfire. He was prepared. There's nothing here for you. Her mouth opened and closed. For the first time in weeks, she had no script. She called me that evening. I didn't pick up. She texted, we need to talk. This is serious. I replied, talk to Henry. She typed something angry and then deleted it. The bubble flickered and vanished. A week passed. I moved the last of my things from the house to a townhome closer to the river. Clean lines, good light. I bought a used pickup in cash and a grill I could carry myself. Nate and Melissa came over with folding chairs, and we ate steak off paper plates. It was unremarkable and perfect. On Wednesday, Claire finally wrote the message she'd never imagined she'd write. You won. Can we meet? I need your help. I can't cover rent this month. Please. I looked at the text for a long second. Not out of mercy, out of closure. This was the same person who timed her strike for my birthday and asked me to be a man by staying silent. Now she was asking for a bailout. I called her. She answered on the first ring, breath quick like she'd been pacing. Thank you for calling, she rushed. You can speak with my attorney, I said calmly. She went quiet. Is that really who you want to be? I'm exactly who I want to be, I answered. You built a stage. I walked off it. You don't have to be cruel, she said. I'm being consistent, I replied. Good luck. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I forwarded the message to Henry for the file. He answered with a short, understood. People like to ask how I feel about it now. They expect a sermon or a confession. There isn't one. There's just a man who heard something true, said a line, and didn't flinch. The days after were quiet in the best way. I started getting up earlier. I went with Nate to the lake on Sundays and didn't check my phone 5 times. Work expanded because I had bandwidth and no one chewing the edges of my calendar. Melissa and I ran the shop like a tight ship. She got a raise because she'd earned it 3 times over. I reconnected with folks I'd drifted from. They noticed the difference before I had words for it. A month in, I met someone decent at a friend's barbecue. Her name's Dana. She's a physical therapist. Independent, steady. We talked about normal things like stubborn shoulders and ancient lawnmowers. When I left that night, she didn't text me questions about where I'd been for the last 10 minutes. She just said she'd had a nice time and was free next week if I was. That's what adults do. As for Claire, I heard things. None of it came from her directly. She moved to a smaller apartment farther out. She sold some furniture cheap to cover a month where the numbers didn't line up. The friends who had clapped at my birthday didn't show up for the second act. You can only be interesting for so long when your whole storyline is, I'll get more later. Sometimes I pass our old street on the way to a job. The neighbors are the same. Tom waves. His wife asks about the grill. We talk about the weather and the traffic and whether the city will ever fix that pothole at the corner. Life is ordinary and, in ways that matter, better. If there's a lesson in it, it's not complicated. I love my wife. I trusted her. I built a life with her and stayed patient when she was moody and snide because I thought that's what marriage calls for sometimes. Some grace, some benefit of the doubt. But when I heard her plan the shape of my humiliation like a party game, I made a decision. Not to rage. Not to plead. To move. When a man stands up from his own table, it changes the room. People stop clapping. People stop nudging him back down. They notice he's not there to perform. It's amazing how much space that creates. At the end of all this, Claire didn't lose because I schemed. She lost because she bet her future on someone else's compliance. She forgot that respect isn't paperwork you slide across a plate. It's the way you talk to a man when there isn't a crowd. The last thing I did connected to her was return a package that arrived at my place with her name on it. Old habit from forwarding mail, I guess. I wrote, not at this address, and left it at the desk. No note. No comment. Just an accurate label. Nate and I stood on my patio last weekend, watching the grill's thermometer creep up. He took a sip of his soda and jabbed at me with the bottle. You didn't even blink when she pulled that move, he said. That was something. I blinked later, I said, flipping the steak. In a better direction. Dana coming by? He asked. She's meeting us, I said. She offered to bring a salad. I didn't ask. He chuckled. Small miracles. That's the big miracle, I said. Adults doing what they say. He clinked his bottle against mine. Happy late birthday. Every day's quieter, I told him. That's gift enough. When Dana walked in, she kissed my cheek and asked where the plates were. Nate handed her a stack. We stood around like grown-ups, sharing food without anyone minding the moment for leverage. No crown. No speech. Just a meal. Before we sat down, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 10 seconds later, I blocked that one too. You can spend your life opening doors you've already closed. Or you can put your chair where the light is and eat your steak warm. I chose the second option. I recommend it.